Well, Matt, the January 6th commission has started. Hold all tickets. The charade continues. I got to tell you, moving to see a congressman cry about what happened. You know, the hundreds of thousands of lives that were lost in that Civil War, Matt, and it's moving to see the penetrating,
the infiltration of the insiders.
It's penetrating what's
with
going on.
All the actors in place. It was a beautifully choreographed and directed scene by Oliver Stone. I loved it.
By the way, I saw today, what's his name? Would have been 93 today. He directed The Shining. And they showed the scene where he's trying to get the look for when Wendy's in the when Wendy has locked him into the dry goods thing, right? And he's sitting there, he's sitting there going, Wendy, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. And it reminded me that we could change Wendy with COVID.
Yes.
Yeah, COVID, you're not going anywhere. We got you forever now.
I love that, Bob. That is the smartest thing you've said all week, and it's only Tuesday. It's only Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday. COVID's not going anywhere. I just took the battery cables off the track. You can't get out. All right, Matt, listen. Twitter, always delivering. This was so great. Rick's Cabaret in New Orleans. We talked about strippers yesterday, Matt, right?
Yes, we did.
Or the day before, maybe. I forget. But Twitter always delivering. Husband takes blind wife into Rick's in New Orleans. Honey, this is a great place. I'm going to get a beer, and I'll get you an egg sandwich. Let's go into Rick's. I may have spent an hour or two in there before. I don't know.
I think it got a bump off that, though, yesterday. As you can see, I have to pull up the chart here real quick of Rick's Hospitality Holdings, and which is a piece of shit, by the way. So thanks for bringing that up. It's, again, fully looking to me like rolling over. Matter of fact, thanks for bringing it up. And that bounce yesterday and that blind man the man taking his blind wife into Rick's, and just another reason probably to sell this piece of shit today. So thanks for putting it up there. It's going back to $11.
It's a hospitality thing.
Because COVID's not going anywhere, as you said. It's not going anywhere. There's no strippers, and there's nobody going to see strippers. They're all on OnlyFans. We talked about that 2 days ago. The business has shifted. It's shifted.
It has shifted, Matt. All right.
And it's.
I just wanted to bring this one up.
It's shifted, and it's still a shaft.
Here's another shaft. How do we address this as a community? This was another one about I just left the ER. Now these are supposed three, I think either doctors or somebody, like the full on narrative pushing is unbelievable.
And I was reading some articles on the blue check verified doctors all of a sudden showing up, from ER saying we're just jammed.
Well, this is it. Look at three ones. And they have the exact same tweet. No, I just left the ER. We're officially crushed by COVID. Delta variant, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Why am I supposed to trust anything when this is the narrative that gets continually jammed down my throat?
Yeah, and now the CDC, Bob, has announced that they're going to suggest if you've been vaccinated, you're going to have to wear a mask inside, which I think is a reverse thing. It's like, oh, now we can catch all the non-vaxxers coming in with no masks and round them up and put them into the FEMA camps.
All right, we got to get to some price discovery here, but I wanted to bring.
By the way, the guillotine yesterday again is still stuck in Macron's head, and that sucker is. He and Trudeau are going to be the first to go.
Who would have thought that the French would be the ones that would turn the tide here? Who would have thought? Thank you.
Their people are turning the tide.
I know. That's what I mean. Thank you.
Well, they've always been They've always been leftist revolutionaries. Now the left is being turned. They're being flipped. That's the interesting.
Speaking of flipping, here's
people aren't for being leftists anymore. Sorry, you freaks.
Matt, here's a a depiction of the craps
7 come
table I
11.
like to be involved in. When
7
the
come
olive out of my martini jumps onto the table and fully flips the dice for 7 winner. That's loaded dice. That's what we're looking for in gambling. Loaded dice. But this shared inside our network. I wanted to just talk about this a little bit. Do sports bettors make better investors? Quite the opposite, according to a new survey. I didn't really read the whole article, but I can tell you this: some of the worst gamblers I know are great traders. So I can actually, I actually see the light at this one being maybe possibly true.
No.
No?
No.
You think because you're a
That's
good
like
gambler?
that's like saying you're a good hockey player, so you're going to be good at golf. Not always true. Some are.
All right. Anyway, along with this,
But here's the thing, Bob. I mean, if you don't know anything about, it's like any game. If you don't know, I mean, first of all, what are we talking about? Is he a good football bettor, basketball, or is he great at ping pong betting? Maybe.
Matt, the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because we like to talk anybody that's got a following. And so in this narrative, it's Dave Portnoy, who doesn't seem to be a great investor by the way he screams and yells at his machine. And Penn Gaming, he said yesterday, wait for it. We got a big drop, a big announcement tomorrow. They pumped the stock a little bit. But today, either they forgot to bring out the announcement because I can't find it anywhere, or the announcement was so lame that the stock is off 4% right now. Matt, and let me share because nuance, standard deviation trading. This is the daily, and look at these past 5 days, just toying with this up momentum level. Yesterday on his pump that wait for tomorrow, we actually got a close above that momentum level. So it should have been off to the races, but wow, what a trap that turned out to be. And actually it was right in.
It looks like he told all his friends on the 21st or so, back when it bottomed. You saw those 3 days, and then he talked. Actually, it's classic pump and dump. This looks like what's the guy's name? Wolf of Wall Street type of action. You pump it up, then you tell your friends, then you pump it up, and they sell into it, and then you announce it, and then it dumps. That's the classic Ponzi scheme right there. That's the boiler room right there. Well done, Davey. Well done with the pump job, you freak.
Okay. Now let's fractal out just to see. Again, same level or general area on this weekly, and been in lower momentum on the weekly, all but one close since when we went into this lower momentum level, 12th of April, Matt. So considerable time spending on the right side of the parabola. We've talked about this for a while. Plenty of ground yet to be uncovered on that right side. Holy cow, he got naked. Talk about Ricks. I just saw a nipple, I think.
Hey,
I saw a nipple.
I promised some of my OnlyFans that this would happen today.
I don't think they could have seen that because when I'm talking, I'm on full view. But he just took his sweatshirt off, and I swear to God, I saw a nipple. Give me a Rick's Cabaret application. We got him going. All right, Matt, let's move on down the line. Move on.
Oh, God.
And this was the next one. And I said to you as we were warming up for this, Matt, it's amazing how Twitter magically gives you nuance without you even trying. All right, because these two tweets are back to back. From Gabor, whatever. He said, and you shared this, and I saw it yesterday also. Apparently, some PCs are now illegal to ship to 6 U.S. states due to energy efficiency requirements.
Basically, the whole left coast, the whole where we are.
Yeah, the whole left coast. 56 million people affected by this, not being able to buy these Dell super gaming computers.
I got a business model for you, Bob. You buy them and you sell them.
Yeah, I know, exactly. We go to Nevada and sell them in California.
And we ship them. And we ship them.
Bada bing. All right, but then the great thing
is that's capitalism. Why would we do that? That's capitalism. We can avoid stupid laws by going to states that have smart laws.
Well, let me finish my thread here because underneath that tweet was Andrew Stuttaford. Democrats want to create a huge new federal civilian climate corps to instruct Americans on how to be climate correct. So first of all, your computer can't be a supercomputer and take up too much energy. But let's just take this thread a little bit. You, my friend, are overweight, so we're going to start restricting your calories.
Yeah.
Right? And every fat fuck in the country now is going to have somebody that says, you know what? You're a little bit over your calories, and it's really causing some problems with the climate. So listen, McDonald's needs to be taxed, right? Coca-Cola needs to be taxed out of existence.
Yes.
And let's just make sure that the government needs to be.
No, Coke just needs to go back to putting real Coke and real sugar in it.
No, Matt. The government is there to mitigate any possible risk that humanity faces and must do with an iron fist.
Gotcha.
I don't know. Let's talk Dell computers, gaming, whatever you want.
Well, you know what? I'm actually going to bring up I got to go back to Penn first because it was such a perfect setup this morning. I loved it. And I didn't know Davey was pumping. I just happened to sell it at 73.50. And look at that, Bob, right on the open. It had the little gap. I didn't know he was pumping. I don't watch Davey. I only watch the charts. This is the lesson. But if you did your homework, it came right to the top of the value. Boom. And so you're done. The trade's over. If you wanted a day trade, it's right there.
Davey day trade, sell Penn Gaming.
I mean, he should learn how to read a chart, and he might actually benefit a little bit versus ranting and being all emotional. I mean, I don't think he has any problem expressing his emotions. So to the Denise Schull's school of thinking, that's not his problem. His problem is he has no skill set, zero. So if you're following the guy, stop.
He keeps saying this is not trading advice. No shit.
No shit.
All right, Matt, Dell or a computer game. I mean, 56 million people that can't buy your computer. I mean, it seems.
Honestly, I've been looking at Dell recently, and I still can't believe it's trading at $95, and the company's still worth $73 million. Because honestly, I mean,
yeah.
There's not a lot of. I mean, I guess businesses are buying desktops, but there's not a lot of.
Well, gamers are too. I mean,
and riggers.
That's the market.
I guess Bitcoin and gamers. Is that what we're down to now?
Well, for sure.
Everybody else can read their email on their phone.
Listen, man, these things are expensive too. They're like $2,000 a pop for these.
$2,000 is what a high-end machine costs these days. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, so it's not a little price tag.
My trading computers 12 years ago was like $22,000. I mean, it's hilarious and it was probably 1/8 the power of these things. So, but look at Dell, Bob. I mean, talk about right side parabolic. This thing traded all the way to 104 and has come off. And to me, it looks like it's breaking. And there's a huge hole all the way back to 50. So I do expect a half off sale. Time wise, I can't, I'd say within the next 6 months. And this thing doesn't look good. It paused right where it should have there at 89 bounce. But I think this bounce that you just saw here at 96, 95 is probably a good area right where we're trading. If you've got a long-term mentality, buy some puts, buy some $105 strikes. They're in the money. It'll cost you $10. Buy them 6 months out. Forget about them. Come back, and one day you'll have an alert down here at 60 or 50, and then you can sell them. Sell your puts there.
Well, when I look at it on the weekly in the standard deviation modeling, it has spent exactly 2 weeks since the lows in April below that weekly average until the last 3 weeks. And now, for me, this is pretty clear that the right side of the parabola is forming here. And as long as this thing can't regain up mo on that weekly, which is 101, you got to be short it. You want to be short it. You should be short it. And you got defined risk. We always talk about that. Like, that's great. You have an idea, but where are you getting in and where are you wrong? That's an adult in the room talking trading.
Well, the thing I liked about the puts there is you've defined your risk, because when you buy a put and it's in the money, in other words, if you were to look at a 105 strike 6 months plus out, again, I'm just guessing. I don't have it in front of me, but it'd probably be $12, $13, maybe something like that. If it's trading 95, 96, and you pay a little bit of a premium, but for that, you're going to get the possibility of a 4 to 5 bagger if it if I'm correct and it is to trade to that number in that amount of time, you're going to be good. You're going to be
Let
good.
me just show it to you on the weekly here and how these bands have rolled over. Had a big fight back here, but looking lower again this week. And again, it's really defined here. And I'm sure that's showing up on the profile too, that 100 to 101 level, all-time highs 104-ish, maybe 105. But it looks broken to me. Now, it looked broken here too back in 26 October of 2020, but it certainly didn't follow through. So that's, it's gone basically almost twice that, $60 to over 100. Right side, baby. That's all. I'm sticking with my story on Dell Computer, especially since it's losing 56 million possible customers for their high-end gaming computer. At what what if you needed this computer for trading? They tell you can't get it because there's other uses that demand high energy output computing. So
it's interesting that you said that, but I'll point this out again. But right here is that 100, right? That's the lower end of that. So, and again, that's why, and I said this before you took over. I think that this is a great sell because I don't see it getting through 104, 105 now with all the news. Earnings haven't come out until August 26th, so they have a month to go there. So you could argue there's still an earnings play there. Speaking of earnings,
back to the government in your face about your electrical usage via your computer. What, they decide that the computer gaming isn't worthy of electrical usage, but what if you need that computer for something else, for graphics?
Hey,
I'm sure there's high-end computers for graphics, for we're going to shut Hollywood down now.
Bob, it's the same thing. It's like, why are we doing this when banks can still use their supercomputers to put on their algos and their trades? Give me a break. I mean, it's the same shit. They got computers running all over the place.
I got to imagine this gets challenged.
It's not, yeah. I mean, it's bump kiss. It's bump kiss.
That's Italian for bullshit.
Speaking of Italian, have you seen, I pointed it out yesterday, but as a Italian, as the non-Italians like to say, Italians, this new finally CNN has some good programming. It might save a few viewers. The only reason I'm on CNN is because of this show, Stanley Tucci, Searching for Italy.
Dude,
And
I love Stanley Tucci. One of my favorite movies is Big Night with Stanley.
Yeah, right. And he filmed that there. And so this whole thing, and he actually, when he was young, his dad was studying architecture in Florence. So he spent a year when he was like in 8th grade going to school, it comes out in the show. Here's what I love about the show. Whoever did it, there's two things that make it great. And I was thinking about it last night. The music is amazing. Like they have fantastic, like symphonic, operatic, Italian music. Like it is playing the whole time when he's talking. Because if he was just talking and there was no music and he was talking about food with some chef, I wouldn't be that excited. But it's because, and they do a great job. I mean, seriously, like you got to watch the editing on this thing. It's the music. And it also, whoever produced it, and he had one of the producers in at one point, knows a ton of the history. And one of the things that was interesting about the history came up yesterday. They were saying in the 30s when Mussolini came to power and the fascists came to power. This is interesting because it applies right to today. He actually made an executive order that said no more pasta. Pasta is going to make you fat and weak. We want you on I'm not even kidding. We want you on an all-protein diet where you will be angry and ready to fight. How about it?
How about that? Well, we've talked about that. The tack of like get everybody a soy latte and get their, suppress their testosterone. We'll have a bunch of mellow basement dwelling gamers.
Yeah.
Apparently now though you can't because you don't have a fast enough computer and you just get your ass kicked in all your gaming.
But he actually, but Mussolini, and I didn't know this. I studied a lot about Mussolini. I was into the whole Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, the triumvirate back then, right? I was into it, and I was a history major along with econ, right? And the marriage of the history and econ is so beautiful, and this is what's great about it because we should be teaching kids not critical race theory, but about Mussolini. Right.
Critical human theory.
Critical human theory, where he was taking away your right to decide what to eat and what to grow in your garden and what to eat. I mean, and pasta at that time, I mean, pasta was made because people didn't have shit in Italy. They didn't have anything. So they had in the southern part of Italy, have so much dry wheat growing all the time. They made pasta. That's what they did. And then they have tomatoes. So they made tomato sauce. They got cows. So they made, a meat sauce. It all evolved. And then you have a fascist coming in telling you what you can and cannot eat, just like you're suggesting. Of course, it's all about the vaxes too. You must have a vax if you want to live. It's the same thing. Do you people not see this? I'm sorry, but it's so, history repeats over and over. It's so beautiful.
All right, man, let me share this, because we got an ongoing debate. Which was better? And I can't, I agree with you that this is real. Tom Brady, this has gone viral. Just throwing darts into the machine. The machine's kicking it back to him. Unreal. It goes back a little bit. And by the way, training camp's opening up, and Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Packer, apparently. I want to puke. I was wrong on that one. But that was Tom Brady. Awesome. But then I'm telling you that this one is even more amazing. Tariq Cohen, this was 5 years ago, before he got drafted by the Bears. Jumping, backflip, catching 2 footballs. And his life story is going to be played by Kevin Hart. I don't know if you know that. Kevin Hart playing Tariq Cohen in Kevin's song. That's all bullshit too. All right, Matt.
Hey, what about Simone?
Yeah,
I mean, that's two top-notch athletes dropping out at the peak moment. Which seriously, I think that says a lot about the mental health of our world, because these are
I hadn't even brought up that graphic of the amount of overdose deaths. 19 and 20 was almost 100,000. We got real problems, man, and a lot of it is this bullshit narrative.
You're talking about people, the tennis player, the Japan, who withdrew from Wimbledon and basically said, I got mental health issues. She's saying the same thing. These people are trained; they're machines mentally. Typically, they've got psychiatrists, psychologists all around them. So if this is happening to the most highly sought after athletes who are trained to deal with such emotions and how to deal with it, then Bob, I mean, yeah, it shows up in the opioid deaths. It shows up everywhere. And this is way more of an important subject than, mask or no mask. And again, we got to, Babylon Bee had the best satire over the weekend. The solution to this whole thing is, if you're afraid, wear a mask. What was the headline? And if you're not, don't. Stay home if you're afraid, if you're a freak ball and you really believe that all this shit is bubonic plague now and black lung. Everything is, all these things are piping up over the last days. It's not true. None of it's true. None of it's true.
All right, man, let's talk crypto, because what a pump they had. And all right, developing. We still have yesterday's graphics up. Matt, we had a major pump, right? And then, and I said in yesterday's broadcast that I thought of it was like threefold, right? First of all, the strip joints taking Bitcoin, right? And then it was the Tether investigation, and then Amazon saying that they were going to accept crypto. They pumped it, and then Amazon came out and I believe made a statement that said, "Who told you that? That's not." There was not an official statement from Amazon verifying that at all, and I think that's when the sell-off happened. I got to tell you, amazingly illiquid.
I got to tell you, that's why I don't trade stories right there.
And you were right. It rallied it right to a great place to sell. I don't know. Same as it ever was. And let's
Take a look at this, Bob. Not only did it rally, okay, so it fell off down here last night to 36.3 or so. And look at the rally right on time into the open for the suckers to chase again. And we've been down from that open. And the 50 to 60 held. This thing's going lower. And next time it's going to break 36. And remember 36? Oh, yeah, we talked about 36 for a long time. So that's why 36 held. But nothing's changed. We're still in the chunk. We're in this freaking huge,
a massive
thing. I mean, we've been talking about this since May. Nothing's new, except the Twinklevoss twins. Every time, pump, 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 pump. I mean, how many times can you guys listen to Elon Musk and Kathy Wood? And speaking of Kathy Wood, she's taking on water over at the Ark.
they're ejecting animals as we speak at the Ark.
Well, I got to talk about it because 117 is a big number, and I've been waiting for that number to come back. And I think it's 117 on a longer time frame, and I'll pull back here. But we had this little rally last week. Kathy was up there with Elon, and who else was in that whole
Jack Dorsey.
Jack Dorsey. They were all pumping.
Yes.
All the pumpers. They were all out there. And I'm sure they should invite Davey Boy to come with them. He's good at pumping. Just come and pump. None of them know anything about how markets work, but come pump. And I mean, look at this thing right to the top and pisses over all the way back down to 115s here, which is where it should stop. But here's the chart, Bob. I mean, again, 117 is a big number. You saw how it's big there on the 1 month chart. But again, this level 121 to 117, right where we are. Again, we ran right to the top of the balance. This is what you want. Like we talked about this. Now you had that sell-off back in March. It finished in May. We've been going up for 2 months. Guess what? We're back to the levels you need to be selling it across the board. I can show you literally hundreds of stocks. Roku did this morning, Bob. You know, Roku is a perfect example. And they still have earnings coming out next week, August 4th. So be careful. Be careful. You still have earnings. But look at this thing, right back to 488 today, and it's off $40. You can't make this stuff up. Know your levels.
Assist from HFR was MicroStrategies, as you had a nice ring-a-ling-a-ding-ding.
Yeah, you know, whether it was MicroStrategy, Riot, or Mara yesterday, like if you want to play some stocks because that are just total pieces of shit, when Bitcoin runs like it does, MicroStrategies did that yesterday. Here's the first look. Again, right back to that this level that it fell from previously here on the last.
I'm not seeing it.
Oh, you're not seeing it yet?
Not seeing it.
All right. The last pump that MicroStrategy that Bitcoin had, we ran up here to 693. And Bitcoin wasn't even trading 40,000 like it was yesterday. So that tells you a lot that it couldn't even get over the price that it traded from the last pump job that got it to about 31,000. And now, you know, it ran all the way to, so this tells me everything right here. This stock, apparently all they do is own MicroStrategy. We've talked about it. All Michael Saylor does is buy Bitcoin. His company does nothing else. So how that's even, you know, a business, I don't get. But it's one that's going to go to zero just like it did in 2000 when he was doing the same shit, chasing .com names, etc. But yeah, Mara was another one. You could hit all three of the big three, I call them. Mara, Riot, and MicroStrategies. Every one, if you sold yesterday towards the end of the day, which was a great spot to sell, have paid significantly. I mean, if you chased that shit yesterday up to 30, it's already back to 26. You're already off 10%. Good for you. Riot, same thing. Riot went to 34, all the way back here to 30.76. Again, 10% off today if you just waited for a day. So don't be in a rush to chase these bullshit names. They're bullshit. They're all bullshit. They're all fake. Pet rocks. If you believe in the pet rocks, then you know you can listen to Bob. If you're an anti-pet rocker like me, listen to me. That's your choice.
The don't is in the building. I appreciate the don't. The don't keeps me nimble, agile, and it keeps me responsible to explain my position, and not whether it's right or wrong, but like what is your risk reward? Like what is your actual trading strategy? Where are you wrong? These are questions that all, I said it earlier, that all adults in the trading game they talk about. Like, yeah, you got to be long on this news. Okay, great, I'm long. Now, where am I wrong? I mean, is anybody saying that? It's 10% off now. Like you bought it yesterday. It's 10% in your ass. What's the point where you puke? Or
Where are you
is that
wrong?
not an adult conversation to have?
Yeah.
You know?
If you were and if you were chasing it yesterday, then should you be chasing it when it's off 11%?
You got to love it today at 10%.
If you loved it at 34, I mean, at 30, it's fucking up. You're absolutely smitten with it.
All right, Matt, great show. Please share and retweet the show. Please visit us at marketvitals.io. You know, if you want to have the don't in your ear that maybe will cause you to be a more responsible trader, we talk right and left side of parabolas.
Listen, this is a these next couple days, like we have Apple today, we have Facebook, we have Google, they're all coming, right? All the fangs. And I find it interesting that the way this market's been behaving, just slowly walking up for 2.5 months, like literally no breaks, 0.5% a day, basically, right? Let me just bring this up because this should make you pause a little bit. Now, I will say this, now that we've sold off into Apple and everything else, they'll probably beat and we'll probably get a bounce. If you get a bounce, I don't think we're going to be, I would say we're probably not going to be above 15.1 after these earnings tonight and the next couple nights. If I'm right and you get a bounce up to here, say 15,000 and we're trading 14,830 right now, then you might want to sell. Again.
Well, and again, it's super defined risk. It's
especially once the earnings come out,
right.
And so, you know, if you're not wanting a lot of risk and you don't want to be naked short, I mean, you can back spread. There's all types of ways you can protect yourself and be short into earnings, and that's a whole show in itself. But that being said, I mean, Apple, as you can see here, traded up to 150, came back and tested it again after, you know, it's basically been hanging up here for 2 weeks. And failed again, and now it's got earnings. So all I'm saying is be wary that, don't forget that this thing already had its earnings run. Like, I don't care how good they are. This is already a $2.5 trillion company, and with a T. And from June, we went from 124 to 150, which is another $25, which is another, 20%.
Not only that, Matt, I mean, don't you think at some point, you've talked about it before, the rule and law of big numbers, like they can't sell twice as many phones as they sell right now.
They can't.
Right.
So I find it interesting that these things kind of had their earnings blow off, and Facebook kind of the same thing. So since all these are coming, I'll throw them up real quick. All-time high was just, it was just Monday. And this thing went crazy. I mean, it went from 340 to 370, just squeezed anybody that was trying to play an earnings play. Now's the time. Again, sell some stock, buy some calls out against it, protect yourself. I mean, you can buy 10x the calls for nothing in case it goes flying, and you can be short the stock, or you can buy puts and calls. You can have a straddle and say, I'm going to take the home run play, and you can depend on how wide you think it's going to go. Put the position on. The wider you play, the less it's going to cost you, and the more potential return you're going to get, but the less risk. So there's a lot of ways you can develop strategies around this, and these are the ways you need to think, not necessarily the stories. The stories don't matter. You need to figure out how far can these things stretch and before the band pops. It's very important if you're going to play earnings plays and into earnings plays that you think about how these things typically move in earnings. Otherwise, it can be dangerous. And if you don't understand it, stay away until the earnings are over. As soon as they're over, like the stock moves and it's done. And then you can kind of say, okay, that move happened. Now, which way does it look like it's going to go? It's basically like, putting on a second half bet in basketball. You wait for the first half and then you go, okay, I see what the earnings were. So now I can my risk is reduced because of that. And now I can go in and take a position either way based upon that information that comes. So just change your mindsets and I think open your eyes. A lot of good things can happen.
All right, Matt. Thank you so much. We will be back tomorrow for another segment of Market Vitals. And, I reached out to Joe Piscopo, Matt. I think we're going to get Joe on the show. Come on, Joe. Let's talk Let's talk comedy clubs. I wonder what that price discovery looks like.
Yeah.
Anyway, no live. By the way, another one that I saw today was the English language is a super spreader now, apparently. As opposed to every other. How can English be worse than German? I mean, you speak German, you spit all over everybody. Like, how is English worse than that?
Any of the Slavic nations. I mean, there's so many consonants. I mean, how? I mean, at least in the English language, you have a lot.
That's not what they're trying to push on us. White languages, super spreaders.
Don't.
All right, Matt. We got to go. That's it. Goodbye.
Don't believe the hype.